Half of young Canadian women say they're putting off kids because they can't afford them. But Mark Carney wants 100 million people, not for families, for the machine. No homes, no hope, and no future. Just growth at any cost. Not to build Canada, but to change it.
The relationship we had with the Americans, these guys weren't wrong. They want us to be the 51st state. They want to break us. They want to break us so they can own us. They want our resources. They want our water. They want our land. They want our country. And what do we say? You don't have to die. You don't have to die. Never.
So Mark Carney says that he is running a positive campaign to unite Canadians, but also, Orange Man bad, Trump is literally Hitler, and we're all going to die. I'm Candice Malcolm, and this is the Candice Malcolm Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got a great episode for you. Please, I'm going to ask you to just take a second, hit that like button. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. We want as many people as possible to see the show. And let me just say, folks, this is not what a winning campaign looks like. We're going to talk about the polls later on in the show, whether or not we should believe them. But the Liberals are not running a campaign that shows a lot of confidence. This is not what winning campaigns do.
The responsible people for this issue have been reassigned within the campaign.
Reassigned. So they're no longer in charge of doing dirty tricks and planting lies about the Conservatives. We've moved them over to a different part of the campaign. Not to worry. This is like Paul Chang 2.0. Mark Carney doesn't know how to fire anybody, and he just keeps the same bad people, apologizes, and hopes to move on. It doesn't really work that way.
These individuals, with respect, have not been fired, right? Again, they're not removed from, or even removed from the campaign. They've just been reassigned. And to be clear, what they were trying to do was make it seem like Conservatives would say the election was stolen.
Well, what's the role of those individuals is that's a party matter. And
yeah, so they have no good response because there's nothing you can say about this. And Sam Cooper has exposed the playbook. So this is what he wrote on X. CSIS warned in the next election, Beijing would brand Conservatives as Trumpian. Now Carney's doing it. That's exactly right. So their whole campaign strategy is to try to point to the Conservatives and say Trump. And the media is letting them get away with it, and many Canadians have fallen for it. But this wasn't even a Liberal plan. It was a communist Chinese plan, and they warned about it. Sam Cooper exposes it all over at the Bureau. And now that we know that this was their playbook, it helps put everything into context. So remember last week when journalists set Mark Carney up with this softball question?
People at Conservative rallies say they don't necessarily believe national polls. Earlier this morning, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre would not say if he believed them. My question to you, do you believe the polls right now? And do you commit to recognizing the result of the election, whatever it is?
Jeez, of course. Okay. This is Canada. This is Canada. I know there's certain parties that just import all their slogans and their policies from America, but let's not import that nonsense into Canada.
So that whole thing about importing your policies and your ideas from Americans, that was a Chinese ploy. So Mark Carney is literally doing the thing that he's accusing Pierre Poilievre of doing. And look, folks, you don't have to believe the polls. The polls are often wrong. Having skepticism about the polls and whether or not they're actually able to capture the national moment, that's not some kind of like Trumpian threat to democracy. That's just like a normal part of the political discourse. But they're trying to set it all up that if you don't trust the polls, it is because you are pro-Trump, MAGA, and a conspiracy theorist. And so that really got us wondering, like, are these people all just liberal plants? Remember this photo? These people that showed up at a Conservative rally with these shirts saying, "Do you believe the polls?" Hey, maybe these are Liberal staffers too. Were they just reassigned to play a different set of dirty tricks at a different Conservative rally? Well, that seems to be the name of the game for these Liberals.
Nice to see you, Alex. Is there any reason why you're smashing all my signs along Steeles?
Yeah, because your f***ing party is evil.
Okay, so that doesn't give you the right to smash all my signs.
This is public property. You're polluting.
It's not. I'm not polluting. It's not.
Yeah, you are.
So this is what the liberals have had to resort to, having these kind of thugs out there ripping out conservative signs. By the way, this individual that was caught red-handed doing it, we have other footage of him on camera.
Oh no, wait, it's my nipple. Here, look at my nipple.
He has enough footage of nips. Watch out, watch out,
Yeah, they're not exactly sending their best, those liberals out there. And speaking of CSIS reports, speaking of national security, we have another one. This is from Dahlia Kurtz. She writes this on X: national security warning and foreign interference alert. RCMP Sergeant Peter Merrifield and Detective Paul McNamara, retired, appear to have written an open letter to Mark Carney accusing the Liberal government of ignoring national security risks, exposing Canadian intelligence agents, and using government power to target political opponents. I've not authenticated this letter. If true, this document contains confidential information that was leaked and evidence to support the accusations. The document also alleges 9 Liberal ministers to be implicated who would need to be removed immediately. And look at these names. These are high-ranking Liberal officials. Marco Mendicino, who we know has been tapped to be Mark Carney's chief of staff, Dominic LeBlanc, Bill Blair, David McGuinty, Anita Anand, Stephen McKinnon, Melanie Jolie, Arif Farani, and Chrystia Freeland. Wow, folks. Here is the letter, a matter of national importance. Pretty stunning stuff here. Mark Carney, really, his campaign just seems out of control to me. It doesn't seem like he has a grip on this thing. And these accusations of foreign interference aren't going anywhere. They are of serious concerns. The Liberals can sit here and try to pretend that the Conservatives are importing American-style politics, that is all about Trump. We see through them. We know that they are accusing the Conservatives of the thing that they are doing, except for they're getting their playbook from China. It is absolutely absurd. Okay, moving on. Remember in February, Mark Carney said that he was going to roll up his sleeves and do everything he could to get the Canadian economy working better. He even said, folks, that he would use the Emergencies Act. Let's play that clip.
And something that my government is going to do is to use all of the powers of the federal government, including the emergency powers of the federal government, to accelerate the major projects that we need in order to build this economy and take on the Americans.
Always about the Americans with Mark Carney, but he said that he was specifically talking about building pipelines. Back then in February, Mark Carney said that he would do everything he could, including using the Emergency Act, to build pipelines. Well, today the National Post is reporting that Carney says that, that pipelines are not necessarily among the major projects to prioritize. He says we must choose a few projects, a few big projects, not necessarily pipelines, but maybe pipelines. We will see. Wow, not exactly confident leader there, but this, folks, is a major flip-flop. And Danielle Smith, Premier of Alberta, rightly calling out Mark Carney. So here she says, it would appear Mark Carney is now just fine with Canada continuing to be 100% reliant on the United States to purchase all of our oil and gas and to purchase all of the fuel used by Ontario and Quebec through U.S. Line 5. Yes, that's right. Canadian oil goes through the United States in a pipeline to get to Ontario and Quebec because we don't have a cross-Canada pipeline because the Liberals blocked it. So technically we get our oil through the United States here in central Canada. Smith rightly says, this is absurd, irrational, and anti-Canadian in every respect. It's also the exact opposite of what he promised while in Alberta a couple weeks ago. Does he want Canada to be strong, prosperous, and independent or not? And there is the image. Mark Carney says pipelines not necessarily among major projects to prioritize. So the truth comes out, folks. This is why business leaders have come out to endorse Pierre Poilievre for leader, for prime minister. This is a letter that was released by top business people in Canada. We're talking about CEOs of major Canadian companies coming out and saying that we need change. This is what they said. Here's what we need to do: support free enterprise, eliminate barriers, restore fiscal discipline, reform the tax system, and develop our natural resources. They write, now is the time to act. That is why we're supporting Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party of Canada. They have a clear plan to address the issues and to get Canada back on track. It's because of President Trump's threats that Pierre's plan makes so much sense. We hope you will join us in supporting the Conservative Party of Canada. Yes, that is right, because we know what will happen under a Carney Liberal government, the same thing that we've had for the last decade. It has been an economic disaster for Canada. So Carney flirted with the idea of using the Emergencies Act for pipelines and then flip-flopping. Well, it looks like they're using the Emergencies Act again, or at least the playbook from COVID, because they are freezing the bank account. Canada has frozen the bank account of a PPC candidate. We're talking about Meghan Murphy. She is a feminist. She used to be on the left, and she opposes the extreme excesses of the woke left ideology, specifically this idea that boys can become girls and girls can become boys. She's one of the leading voices in Canada on this issue. Well, she posted on her Substack, the Canadian government froze my bank account just in time for the election. Looks like I won't be returning to Canada for the foreseeable future. Okay, so she talks about how she was in Mexico and that she hadn't completely given up her country, she writes, that she decided that she was going to throw her hat in to become the PPC candidate in the riding of Vancouver East. Well, she said that her candidacy was officially confirmed on Tuesday, the same day I tried to access my bank account, and I could not. I contacted my bank, Van City, and was informed the account had been frozen as per direction from the government. I had access to my account just 2 days prior, so the timing was clear. I had not been informed of this freezing by anyone, not the bank, not the government. No one attempted to contact me. I was completely blindsided. Folks, this is not how you behave in a free society. We have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms, so we're told. The Liberals love to talk about it, and yet they won't stand up for it when insane things like this are happening.
Pierre Poilievre announced today he would use the notwithstanding clause to push through his tough on crime agenda. Is there any case you'd invoke the clause to override the Charter?
I think this is a very dangerous step. We have a Charter of Rights and fundamental freedoms in this country, and it's the responsibility, in my view, of the Prime Minister, of the Government of Canada to defend that Charter, those fundamental rights and responsibilities and liberties that Canadians enjoy.
So let's get this straight, Mark Carney. When it comes to mass murderers, Pierre Poilievre wants to throw the book at them. The unelected judges say that that is inhumane and counter to the mass murderers' Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Pierre Poilievre says, you know what, I'll use the notwithstanding clause because we're going to do it anyway. Mark Carney stands up for the mass murderers, saying the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is so important. And yet, when a political opponent, someone speaking out against trans excesses and the ideology, well, Carney's nowhere to be found. The Conservatives exposed the real reason why the Liberals oppose tough on crime measures, because it's too expensive.
And while Eric over here is opposed to having people on house arrest, we do have to acknowledge the fact that our prison system is incredibly costly. Housing somebody within the prison system is a huge burden on taxpayers versus having them on house arrest, for instance.
So we'll just let the criminals go because our prison system's just too expensive, guys. Yes, that is Liberal policy in Canada. Okay, I want to cover radical Islam in Canada because this should be a major issue in the election campaign, although I don't think that the Conservatives are really willing to touch it. It is everywhere, though. Here is a different angle of the police officers assaulting a journalist in Montreal, and look at the crowd. Look at these thugs cheering on police brutality against a journalist in Canada. Ezra Levant of The Rebel was pointing out that his journalist, Alexa Lavoir, her video has 1 million views of this video showing disgraceful Montreal police groping, assaulting, beating, and falsely arresting a female citizen journalist to the delight of masked Hamas supporters. This is what has been allowed to happen under the Liberal government in Canada. And here is more footage from Alexa Lavoie in Quebec. This is a Muslim rally at the Notre Dame Basilica in Quebec. They are praying over a loudspeaker, and a woman comes up to reporter Alexa Lavoie and basically tries to intimidate her and says that they really want Sharia law in Canada. They're saying the quiet part out loud.
You want Sharia law?
How could the liberals let this happen?
You want Sharia? You want the Sharia law?
What?
Yeah?
Yeah. Why not?
So you want Sharia here?
Non, pas ici. C'est pas
You
un
just say
pays
yes,
musulman.
I have you on tape.
Non, je veux bien, oui, je veux bien la charia, oui.
Oui,
Pas
pourquoi tu
ici. Ici, c'est pas un pays musulman. Mais ce serait bien de les avoir dans les pays musulmans, c'est pas le problème. Est-ce que c'est islamophobe?
Not just in Quebec, folks, this is in Edmonton, where a rally got violent. Remember, they froze the bank accounts for the truckers. They used the Emergencies Act for a peaceful protest in Ottawa. Meanwhile, these violent pro-Hamas thugs are being violent all over the country, and police aren't doing enough about it. This is happening all over Canada, folks, and just in case there's any doubt about what these folks are doing and what they want, here it is being spelled out for us by a former FBI agent. This is what they want all over the world, in the US, in Canada, and in Europe. They are pushing for jihad because they want Sharia law.
The entire purpose of Islam, according to all Islamic doctrine, is to ensure that there is an Islamic state throughout the entire world called a caliphate, and under that, Sharia or Islamic law is the law of the land. That's it. Islam is no more complicated than that. Islam breaks the entire world into two parts. The Dar al-Islam, where Sharia is the law of the land, and the Dar al-Harb, the house or abode of war, where there is not Sharia as the law of the land. The function of Islam is to eliminate the Dar al-Harb until the entire world is a Dar al-Islam. And the vehicle to do that is called what? Jihad, which in 100% of all published Islamic law is only defined as warfare against non-Muslims.
And the Liberals have made it very clear which side they are on. So Liberal MP Adam Vanderker was caught on camera trying to court the most radical of extremists, trying to court the pro-Hamas crowd at a mosque. Here's that clip.
And I just want everybody to know that our voices, your voices, will be strong in Ottawa, strong to condemn the genocide and end the genocide in Gaza, to continue to make sure that the Palestinian voices are heard in Ottawa by our leaders, and to make sure that Canada continues to stand strong for Palestinian safety and sovereignty. For the last 5 years, I've been a member of the Palestinian Friendship Group in Ottawa with leaders like Hikr Khaled and Salma Zahed and many, many others, but we need to keep that voice strong. We need to make sure that your voices are reaching the ears of the leaders. In order to do that, we need to elect people who have signed the Vote Palestine pledge. You'll receive some third-party pamphlets on your way out. Please read about it. Please read about Canada's role in stopping the genocide. Please read about the politicians in your area who have signed the pledge, who stand with you, who stand with the community, and want to stand for Palestinian safety and sovereignty so we can have peace in the Middle East.
Anyone else just totally sick of Liberals throwing this word genocide around? Canadians are genocidal, Israel's committed. Yeah, okay. And it wasn't just some extreme candidate, an MP. Mark Carney himself says that he knows that Israel is committing genocide. Let's play that clip.
Tough.
Mr. Carney, there's a genocide happening in Palestine.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. I'm aware, which is why we have an arms embargo.
And it is no wonder why Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu jumped in to smack down Mark Carney. This is what he wrote on X. He says, Canada has always sided with civilization. So should Mr. Carney. But instead of supporting Israel, a democracy that is fighting a just war with just means against the barbarians of Hamas, he attacks the one and only Jewish state. Mr. Carney, backtrack your irresponsible statement. But Mark Carney's not going to backtrack. They know exactly what they're doing, and they are courting the radical Islamists, the jihadists, the pro-Hamas terrorist supporters that have taken over the streets in Canada, breaking the law, pushing lawlessness, and the Liberals are just perfectly okay with it. All right, I want to end the show with this appearance of Pierre Poilievre on the Knowledge podcast. Everyone kept saying Pierre Poilievre needs to go do more podcasts. He's sticking to doing Canadian podcasts, which I think is excellent. And he really opened up and showed a different side. I've interviewed Pierre Poilievre 3 times. Each one was long form. The first 2 times I had him on for about an hour. Then the recent one in Ottawa, we spoke for about half an hour. And I haven't seen this side of Pierre Poilievre. I have never seen him open up like this, but this is a pretty heartfelt moment where he is talking about his daughter, who we learned has some learning disabilities and some developmental disabilities. And you can listen to Pierre Poilievre just speak as a human being, as a father, as a loving Canadian dad. This is excellent. This is good stuff from Pierre Poilievre.
Little Valentina, she has some special needs. She's 6 years old and she's nonverbal right now. And so she has a hard time communicating with us. But we've learned to take her cues and really celebrate the raw authenticity that she has. She's totally real. Like what you see is what you get. And that's what I love about her. She has none of the games that people play to put on an air of this or that feeling. She's just like, you get exactly what's inside her is what comes out of her. And what's special about that is when she gives you that burst of love, it's like really powerful. But I also think about like what's her life going to be like? How is she going to pay her bills when she's older? What will her life look like when she's 60? And I probably won't be around by then. I was a late bloomer. I think I was 39 when we had her. So when she's up in her years, I won't be there. So I think about how do we build up a nest egg for her so that she can have a good life. And then I think about a lot of other families that are perhaps not as fortunate as us who have a child with a disability. How do they pay their bills?
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching to the end of the episode. I'm going to encourage everyone to head on over to junonews.com and become a subscriber. You'll get access to all kind of exclusive reports and videos, fireside chats with my co-founder, Kian Bexty, and myself. Help us support independent journalism. Join the movement. Sign up today. Thank you so much. We'll be back again tomorrow with all the news. I'm Candace Malcolm. This is the Candace Malcolm Show. Thank you and God bless.